afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another new edition of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And as we're celebrating the Eid al-Adha, we would like to wish all our viewers here on Nile TV International a very happy Eid, or it is also well known as the Feast of Sacrifice. We'll be talking about Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of Sacrifice, and how is it celebrated in this special episode on Eid al-Adha. We will shed light on the preparations taken to celebrate Eid al-Adha during coronavirus pandemic, and shedding light on the different celebrations and traditions through the African countries. We will start first with our first report in Charles Nicolle Hospital in the Tunisian capital. The emergency department is filled with patients who are sharing oxygen in rooms and even hallways. After successfully containing the initial wave of COVID-19 pandemic last year, Tunisia is struggling to cope with the resurgence of the virus. We have more details.
Soldiers hold rifles to guard the health center in the traditional Tunisian village of Kersa, while inside military medics use other weapons to combat COVID-19 vaccines. Tunisia is facing its worst coronavirus surge since the pandemic began, further stressing to the North African countries' already crowded hospitals and health system. That has forced some regions to go back into lockdown and promoted waves of donations of vaccines or medical aid from China, France, Turkey, Italy, and the United Arab Emirates and Algeria. Tunisia's government decided to deploy the armed forces to vaccinate people in the regions with the worst infection rates and in areas with particularly low vaccination rates. At the Kersa Medical Center this week, military doctor Riyad Alani said that turnout for shots is satisfactory, but it's weak compared to the big cities where the news spread quickly and people come. Over the past month, confirmed cases in Tunisia have reached the highest daily numbers of the pandemic, but the nationwide vaccination rate remains low, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Tunisia has reported Africa's highest per capita pandemic death toll and is currently recording one of the world's highest daily per capita infection rates. The data indicate that Tunisia has reported Africa's highest per capita pandemic death toll and is currently recording one of the world's highest daily per capita infection rates. Military health workers vaccinated thousands of people in Kersa and other sites in the Siliana region in central island Tunisia, mainly individuals over age 60 with underlying health conditions. The military said that medical deployment could be extended to other areas in the coming days. Tunisia's president said that the military would send helicopters to mountainous areas to bring vaccines to remote villages. To encourage vaccination and build awareness, Tunisia's president got his first dose of the vaccine on Monday. Meanwhile, it is arriving from near and far. Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and Algeria have sent hundreds of thousands of vaccine doses and medical supplies to Tunisia. A shipment of medical aid came in by sea from Italy on Friday. France this week promised another 800,000 COVID-19 vaccines, and China promised 400,000.
And still with our special reports, the northern Ethiopia conflict may be headed for a dangerous turn after Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's unilateral ceasefire failed backed calls to resist Tigray forces advancing to retake territory. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, which federal troops had initially overrun after fighting that started in November, recaptured the state capital. We have more details in this report.
Rebels in Ethiopia's war-hit Tigray have carried out operations against pro-government troops in neighboring Afar region, opening a new front in the widening 8-month conflict. The rebel spokesman said that very limited action targeted special forces and militia fighters from Oromia region, Ethiopia's largest, who were massing along with the Tigray-Afar border. He said that they took those actions to ensure that forces are sent back to Oromia, adding that there were some casualties, but he could not provide figures. He went on saying that the action was very limited to dispersing the peasant militia from Oromia that was mostly press-ganged into fighting the useless war. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said that troops into Tigray last November to detain and disarm leaders of the region's then ruling party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF. He said also that the move came in response to the TPLF attacks on federal army camps. The 2019 Nobel Peace Laureate declared victory in late November after government forces took the Tigray capital Mekelle, but the TPLF leaders remained on the run and fighting continued. The government has since mobilized forces from regions that had previously been untouched by the conflict, including Oromia.
And still with our special reports, Muslims around the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha on Tuesday, the annual festival of sacrifice that has been scaled this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. While traditions of celebration may vary across the different nations around the world, there are some commonalities in the marking of Eid al-Adha. Typically, there's a feast and a meeting of family. Here's a look for some of the preparations taken by Egypt to celebrate this very special occasion, Eid al-Adha.
Egypt's on high alert for Eid al-Adha preparations. The government announced high alert in preparation for Eid al-Adha as the Central Operations Room in various governorates on Saturday began working to counter emergencies across the country. It also followed up on plans to provide basic goods and services to citizens. Governorates followed up on preparing slaughterhouses, providing all major commodities in the market and launching the continuous campaigns to appear the violators. In addition to sterilizing mosques designated for the Eid prayers and cancelling the Mediterranean leave in slaughterhouses. The operations room for the ministries and governments submit the reports periodically to the Central Operation Room of the government at the headquarters of the Information and Decision Support Center in order to provide the best service to citizens and to overcome any difficulties. Cairo Governor Khaled Abdel Ail warned that the fine for slaughtering animals in the streets amounts to 10,000, stressing that it is prohibited to set up any displays for live animals in public roads. Alexandria Governor Mohammed al-Sharif urged the importance of the precautionary measures in place for Eid prayers in mosques in all neighbors of Alexandria, the need to intensify sterilization of all mosques and raise awareness amongst the worshippers to follow these measures. In the Red Sea, the Religious Endowments Directorate set 215 major mosques in all cities of the governorate to hold Eid prayers there. The Director General of the Directorate of Endowments in the Red Sea, Mohammed Shimi, stressed that the need to adhere to all precautionary and preventive procedures that are in place in every prayer. Mainly that each worshipper bring their own prayer rug, wear a face mask, and maintain social distancing. Nkali Obeya, the director of the veterinary medicine, Amal El Asaidi, announced cancelling leaves for veterinarians in slaughterhouses, supporting them with doctors from different departments to face the intensify of slaughter during Eid al-Adha holiday and ensure the meat is uncontaminated.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and as I mentioned earlier, as we're celebrating Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of Sacrifice, we will be talking on the celebrations of Eid al-Adha amid the coronavirus and the different preparations taken in the African continent, in different countries in the African continent to celebrate Eid al-Adha. And on this, we're glad to be joined over the phone by Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, my dear. Happy Bayram to everybody.
Happy Greater Bayram, sir. Dr. Raouf, Muslims around the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of Sacrifice, the annual festival of sacrifice that has been scaled back this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. Tell us more about how the coronavirus will have its effect on the different celebrations in the different African countries.
I mean, celebrations in the feasts particularly are known for gatherings, going out to open areas, to gardens, yes. Families get together, etc.
Yeah.
So with the pandemic, of course, this is becoming more and more difficult. So they can't gather in big numbers, unfortunately. So they have to stick to their homes, and even if they go out, they will go out in small numbers, which prevents them from celebrating the Eid al-Adha, I mean any other feast. So this again has affected. One of the repercussions of the coronavirus is that it has even forbidden for people to celebrate their feasts. Very sad. But anyway, we can notice that in Egypt. I think this year there will be again some limitations on the open gardens, etc. But in any event, hopefully it will go away, and we can in Egypt and in other African countries celebrate the feasts and the religious occasions and events like we used to.
Yes, sure. Sir, how Africans in different countries around the Black continent usually used to celebrate Eid al-Adha before the pandemic?
Well, I mean, it's almost alike everywhere. They dress in new clothes, bright colors, families get together, different generations. They visit their parents and their grandparents. They sit together.
Yes, sir. Dr. Raouf? Are you still with us?
At the feast.
Yes.
I mean, they eat together. They go out in parks, and I mean, these are all signs of happiness which they do. So it is not different from one country to the other, and even in the countries that do not have Muslim majorities, the minorities, they stick together and gather and celebrate as much as they can.
Yes. Sir, how have the geographical and historical factors influenced ties among the different African states?
I beg your pardon? Can say
How have the geographical and historical aspects or factors influenced the ties among the different African states?
Well, I mean, the rituals have been going on year after year and century after century. And they don't change. Although, of course, lifestyle has changed, environment has changed. But again, Muslims try in such important religious occasion to go back to what they used to do years and years ago, and just keep their own old traditions, and this is what gives such events a taste different from any other holiday, national holiday or what have you. So I love that we stick to our old traditions and remember what our ancestors used to do and try and do exactly what they did.
Yes, well, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst. Happy Greater Bayram to you, sir, and to all our viewers here on Nile TV International. Wish you all a happy Eid, and many thanks for joining us today. And we'll be back on top of the hour with more news and updates. Stay tuned.